Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at when you're watching this. I'm here to talk about the Certified Fire Protection Specialist exam. I took and passed this test in November of 2025, so I just wanted to share some of my thoughts and give you some helpful tips on what you need to do to pass this exam. So, the topics, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I did to pass the exam, specifically the time frame, study materials, some optional study materials, and then I'm going to give you some helpful tips on what to do. About me, I'm here to tell you, first of all, I know you guys have been out there watching other YouTube videos about this, and I'm here to tell you what the other YouTubers have said about this test is true. I passed the test on November 15th, 2025. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. That's my background. I performed fire protection work in mainly the nuclear industry. I would not consider myself a fire protection expert. I'm somewhat new to fire protection in the industry, or I consider myself somewhat new to the industry. I primarily obtained this certification for myself. This was not a company thing or anything like that. It was all for me. Recently, I've been doing a lot of fire protection, and I was kind of lost in some places. I had to get some help from other fire protection engineers, but I wanted to bring myself up to speed, so that's why I did it. And I paid for all of this, all of the study materials, tests, everything out of pocket. And I'm a member of NFPA, so I paid the cheaper rates rather than the other ones I'm going to show here. The time frame, it took me approximately 4.5 months, start to finish, to prepare for the exam. I started primarily at the beginning of July 2025, and I finished pretty much when I took the test on November 15th. I'm going to show you the learning path that you can get. That took me about 2 months to get through that. And then it took me about 2.5 months to master the material. This is the Fire Protection Handbook. When I took it at the time of making this video, you needed the 21st edition of the Fire Protection Handbook, and this is a must. You gotta have it. If you're a non-member, it's $750. If you are a member, it's $674, so I paid the member price, but you gotta have this. And some of you are experts, you may not need it, but new guys like me, no, I had to get it. The other thing I needed, and this is optional, not everybody needs this is just something I did, it helped me, was the Certified Fire Protection Specialist Learning Path, the premium version of this training, and this was very, very, very beneficial, and I'm going to show you what this looks like here. So this is the training, and this is what all is included in the training. It takes you through everything. Introduction, life safety, fire science and analysis, it goes through everything. And if you notice here, there's courses inside each one. There's a number of them. Here we are all the way down at the end here, fire suppression. With a premium version, you get the practice exam. Now, I want to tell you that the practice exam can also be purchased separately. I'm going to show you that here, but you do not have to buy the premium version of the learning path to get the practice exam. And I want to tell you that all these modules, on average, they take about 1.5 to 2 hours to complete, on average. There are some short ones in here, 30 minutes or so, but across the board, the majority, 1.5 to 2 hours. But this was very beneficial. Going through all of these modules and everything, I highly recommend this if you can get it. I didn't show the price here. I didn't want you to get sticker shock. If you're an NFPA member, it's like maybe $1,000 or more, but yeah, this was very, very beneficial. Highly recommended. The other thing that's optional, but I'm telling you need, is the practice exam. Like I already mentioned, I had the premium version of the Learning Path, so it was already there, but you can purchase it separately. Non-member is $100. A member it's $86.40. But you will need this. There are questions from this practice exam on the test. Specifically, there's about maybe a little more than a handful, somewhere around 5 to 7, if I remember correctly. But highly recommend it. It's a no-brainer. Get it. Study it. You're going to need it. So here are some helpful tips. So this test, if you don't know, is a 3-hour test with 100 questions. You have approximately 2 minutes per question. That's how much time you have. So you really don't want to waste time. Regarding my tips for the Fire Protection Handbook, be familiar with the sections of the Fire Protection Handbook and what material is contained in the section chapters. Skim through a section in a chapter each evening and just make a mental picture of what's in there. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know where stuff is at. What section has what material. And I just want to thumb through the table of contents of the Fire Protection Handbook, but this is what you do. Just come in here, each evening, just kind of go through each chapter and section. And like I said, know what's there. It'll help you tremendously. Now, you can use the index. You will use the index. I'm not ruling out the index in the book. It's going to be very helpful for you, but it won't help you in all scenarios. So you will, knowing the rest of the handbook without being able to use the index will help you out greatly. Let's talk about the practice exam. Get the practice exam. You want to be able to consistently score a 90% or above on that practice exam each time you take it. That'll help you greatly. Try to memorize what you can, because you will, like I said, you will see a handful of questions from that practice exam on the test. And when you're taking the practice exam, pay attention to where the answer to the question can be found in the Fire Protection Handbook. The section, chapter, page. When you take the practice exam, if you get the answer right or wrong, it doesn't matter. The practice exam will show you what the correct answer is and where to go find that material in the Fire Protection Handbook. So pay attention to the sections and chapters where each answer can be found, because I guarantee you will have some questions on the test from those chapters and sections. So if you choose to get the Learning Path, when you do the modules, there will be a test at the end of each module. Try to find where the answer to that question is in the Fire Protection Handbook. That'll be very beneficial in helping you know the Fire Protection Handbook and knowing where to go to look for information. That'll help you too. On the test itself, I want to say go through and answer each question to the best of your ability. Do not leave anything blank. Answer, use the process of elimination. Go with your gut. Do what you got to do. Answer each question. Boom. Go right through it. Don't get stuck. The reason why you do this is because there will be a lot of questions that you just don't know or have to guess at. And when you go to take the test, they will give you some material that you can write on. Just write down the questions that you had trouble with. That way at the end, you can go back and knock out some of those questions that you had an issue with. The test, the system will let you flag questions, but I wouldn't do that. I would just go answer everything and then take a note and go back and work on the ones you had trouble with. Now, I finished the test in about 2.5 hours, and I spent the remaining 30 minutes answering all those questions that I was unsure about. So with me, there were about 15 to 20 questions, if I remember correctly, that I had trouble with. And I spent the last 30 minutes going through those, using the remaining time that I had to find the right answer for those questions. I submitted the test with about 9 seconds to go. So I want to warn you, it's not an easy test. Well, it could be if you've been doing fire protection for a long time, it'll be no trouble for you. But for us new people, it was tough. It's not easy. So, and at the end of the test, when you submit it, you'll take a short survey, and at the end of the survey, it'll tell you there if you passed or failed. In my case, I passed, and here in the U.S., or in the United States, you go to a place called Prometric to take the test, and long story short, you have to put your phone in a locker and all that stuff, but when you get your phone back, you'll see an email from the testing facility, and they'll give you something that looks like here on the right-hand side. It'll tell you whether you passed or failed and how well you did, so you can see my scores here. There was another page, but I just showed the first page to give you guys the idea. And of course, I passed. And a few hours later, you'll eventually get an email from the NFPA saying, hey, your certificate's ready. Go to this webpage and you can print out your certificate, which I did here. And yeah, so I am a certified fire protection specialist, and here's my cert. So anyway, that's what I did. I hope I helped you guys out with this. If you have any questions, just feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer it. And hopefully I helped you guys out. And if you decide to take this test in the future, good luck to you. And if you need any help or have any questions, just holler at me, and I'll do what I can to help. So thank you for being with me, and have a good one.